Welcome to another episode of Dad Can We Talk? I am your host, Anthony Ray, and this is episode 139. First thing first, let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. I need for y'all to go to YouTube and type in Dad Can We Talk? Subscribe to the channel. Simple. I promise it's free. I ain't charging you nothing. YouTube won't charge you anything. Just hitting the little button, that's it. That's the best way to support the podcast. Shout out to my man, Mike Peter Barber, the official sponsor of Dad Can We Talk? My man got some good news coming out. I just talked with him the other day. So he said that he is moving to a new location. So he will no longer be in East Gainesville. He is moving out west. So, it's good for me because he'll be closer to me. Currently where it stands, he's about 45 minutes away from me. But he's moving out west over, I think, by the mall area. So Mike Peter Barber and Winter Circle Cuts. Well, he even said he's changing his name. So he's about to go through a quick rebrand. But y'all go holla at my man. Go to MikePeterBarber.com. Check out his website. Get some of his products. He has some new stuff coming. So y'all go check him out. Holla at your boy, Mike Peter Barber. Another shout out to Gainesville Podcast Studio. That's where we're posted up at today. For all your podcasting needs, please come and holla at my people at Gainesville Podcast Studio right here in the heart of Gainesville off of 6th Street. Man, I promise whatever you need, you don't even have to have your whole concept for the podcast. They'll help you do all that. Or you might just need recording. You already got everything going. You just need somewhere to record. Come to Gainesville Podcast Studio, and I promise they will get you right. Get your sound quality, video quality, everything right. Even your editing needs, all of that. Gainesville Podcast Studio. Come holla at them. And man, I'm just sitting here today. I'm very excited about this podcast. For one, it's the first podcast of 2025. So for all of y'all New Year people out there, Happy New Year. And I'm just ready to get into this because I haven't recorded a podcast since November. So yeah, I am excited about this one. I'm sitting with my homegirl today. This was one of my dogs, from way back at Gainesville High School. She was a jit.
Okay.
Yeah, she's legit, but this was my home girl, man. And, she reached out to me a few weeks back and she they said that she would like to come on. And I just love everything that she's doing. She's doing some great stuff, man. And after seeing what she's doing, hearing about a few things that she has going on, it was a no-brainer for me because I've always wanted to do a podcast like this. And she's actually the second woman to bless the podcast. The first one was a Zoom interview. A woman out in LA reached out to me. So that was a little different. So this is the first woman to sit face to face on podcast on the Dad Can We Talk podcast. So this is a special one. Very, very, very special episode. And she came down from Atlanta, Georgia. She is currently working on her PhD right now. Man, my dog is doing some big stuff right now, man. So yeah, she has a lot of knowledge. She's working in the mental health field. She plans to go be a professor. So yeah, I'm trying to learn something today. Y'all know I'm always about learning more. So y'all welcome to the podcast, my girl, Jasmine.
Hi.
How you feeling?
I feel good. I feel really good today. How about you?
I'm here. It's been a long week for me.
Yeah.
Been a very, very long week. It's been productive. A lot going on. I got some news I'll be sharing with y'all soon. I'm just kind of keeping my mouth shut about a couple things right now. But yeah, it's been a long week. So I'm ready to get to this, man.
Okay, let's do it.
So the way we always start the podcast off, it's always the same. And I'm going to keep it the same today. So I got this first question for you. What was your relationship like with your dad?
Ooh, big shell. Our relationship We are in a really good place now, but it was not always like that. When my mom and dad divorced, I was probably like 9, 10. Um, I didn't really understand what was going on. I just kind of saw the arguing and stuff, and next thing I knew, we were being shuffled down to Alachua. And I think my dad kind of struggled with the divorce, and we kind of ended up falling off. Um, there was a lot of kind of some traumatic incidents that happened, but I feel like they both kind of like shaped both of us. Now as an adult, I really have a deep appreciation for my father because my father has gone through a lot of things that the typical person probably would not be able to withstand. He's dealt with a lot of trauma. And despite dealing with that trauma, he has gone and become very successful. He was in the military for 30 something years. He just got his PhD May of last year. So he does really amazing things despite the hand that he was dealt at a young age. Now, was it always perfect? Absolutely not. But I think that now that we have a real understanding of each other, we really get along well. Like, that's my dog.
Yeah.
That's my dog. I can call him right now.
Yeah.
And we just chop it up. If I need something, if I need him to do something for me. Last week it was about to snow. I'm telling him like I need some food, I need this. He's like, give me 5 minutes. All he needed was 2. And he came back and he had everything handled for me. So that's my dog. I have a real appreciation for him.
Man, shout out to Pops.
Big Shelly.
Pops, man. Shout out. I love to hear that. It's interesting that you talked about the divorce and how that was rough on him. I looked at the stats one time about men in divorce, and they say that men are like way worse off after divorce a lot of times opposed to women. And a lot of men after divorce, they deal with drug abuse, alcohol abuse. A lot of them go into real depression. And, you know, that's something that I talk with guys about a lot. And I think I can understand because I think as a man, we put so much, you know, men, we're goal driven.
Yeah.
And for us,
failure is crazy. And especially failure like a marriage.
Oh, man. I can understand that.
Yeah.
You know, after reading the stats about that, I was like, man, you know, I can see why a lot of guys do that because we do put a lot in. I mean, I think women do also, but we're just, I think women and men, we're just two different. We have different makeups.
Right. Absolutely. So absolutely.
I can understand that. But yeah, shout out to Pops. Man.
Yes. That's my daddy. Love you, daddy.
Yeah. So, you said that you were 9 years old when that happened. Talk about how that affected you going into, you know, your teenage years, you know, and what that relationship was like during that time. Because I have an 11-year-old daughter. So I'm really interested right now, just trying to understand her makeup, you know, being a dad. She's in 6th grade, so she just entered middle school. You know, she's becoming a young woman.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes I feel like she's feeling herself.
Oh, absolutely. She probably is.
You know, it's still the sweetest thing ever. But sometimes I feel like I'm like, okay, this ain't the little 2-3-year-old girl.
That ain't your baby.
She ain't that.
She your baby, but that ain't your baby.
So talk about those preteen years going into your teenage years and that relationship with your dad, and you know just how do girls begin to process, and you know what are some things that I can do as a dad to help her and not lose her, because that's always my fear, that one day I'll lose her. You know, with she we've had a relationship to the point to where I can talk with her.
Mm-hmm.
She'll come and talk to me. But sometimes I feel like, what if she stop talking to me? What if she don't want to, and I'm scared sometimes as a dad. Like, I don't want to lose my baby.
Yeah.
That little girl.
Yeah. So I think for me, that was probably my roughest years with my father. When I was younger, up until the divorce, probably a couple years after that, very much attached to my daddy, daddy's girl through and through. I was a daddy's girl, but I was really a grandma's girl. I was truly a grandma's girl. Like I was very much attached to the hip with her. So, but my dad was still like, of course, number one man in your life. But I think once I got to high school is when it got really rough. He moved away. He moved to Washington. He got remarried. He re-enlisted into the military. So I didn't really get to see him as much as I used to. And that took a toll on me because I'm used to, my dad stayed 10 minutes down the street. You go down 441, I'm to my dad's house.
Yeah.
So that was a huge adjustment for me, as well as I think a little bit probably was me feeling myself as well. Everybody know I got an attitude. So
yeah.
My daddy even say, you got my temper, you got my attitude, you get that honest. So we would butt heads. We would butt heads a lot because my dad is very much, this is what it is. And I'm very much like, yeah, but I'm gonna do something else. I've always been marched to the beat of my own drum. And my dad being military, he's used to everything being orderly, uniform. That kind of clashes with somebody who just is like, just, moving a little wild, moving a little carefree. So I think that was the thing that he had to understand, is that I'm not as button up and traditional as he may be, or how he may want me to be. And he had to realize, like, she's gonna figure it out, and she has figured it out. She just figures it out on her own. As far as, like, in general, I think it was difficult for me to talk to my dad about certain things. I'm not gonna lie. It probably still is a little difficult. My daddy is a goofball. My daddy could play. But my daddy does not play by his kids. And I am his youngest. So there are certain things that I could tell my father, and we're going to have to be bailing him out of jail. So I just know there's certain things that I can't go to him to, just because it's like I need my daddy to stick around on this side of the tracks. And I know how he operates. But I think, your kids are going to tell you some difficult things as they're growing up, as they go through preteen, teenage years. They're going to tell you some stuff that you may not want to hear. But you have to be an open door for them. You have to let them know that you are a safe space. I can genuinely say, for like both of my parents, my mom specifically, my mom is like so cool, mild-mannered. I can talk to her about anything, and she's not going to yell. She's not going to judge. She's just going to be like real cool. Now, my dad, I can go to him about the same subject, and he probably will pop off a little bit depending on what it is, but he going to find a solution for it. And it just kind of depends on what I need at that moment. Do I need my daddy to be popping off and ready to squad up? Or do I need the gentleness of my mom? And not to say my dad can't be gentle. He is when he wants to be. It's just, like I said, certain topics, you hear certain things from your kids, it's just going to make you want to nut up.
And I think at times I snap too much. And I can be honest with myself and say that, like, and a lot of times it's not my kids. And I can also admit that a lot of times it's not them. I'm angry with things outside of the house a lot of times, and I'm bringing that home. And then they might just do something little, with my oldest, I'll say something, and then she say something back. Oh my God. And then I lose it.
Now it's up.
And now it's like, I'm saying things, and I'm like, well, I've been wanting to go off on somebody all day anyways. Now this is my opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like saying things. And then and my wife tells me a lot of times also that she feel like I go too far.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm just saying whatever.
You know, that reminds me of an interview Nikki Giovanni did. And she was talking about how men come home and they show their worst selves to their family. Because you done went out here, you went to work, maybe your boss pissing you off, you'd have been in traffic, all this type of stuff. And then by the time you get home, you so frustrated that you taking it out on your wife and your kids. And she's like, take it out on them white people. Take it out on, why are you coming home and talking to me crazy? And that just made me think about that. It's like,
that's real.
Yeah, we all have, you know, trials and tribulations and things that go on. And sometimes we may have a rough day. But we got to remember, like, our kids are like little sponges. Everything you say and do, they soak it right up. So even if you taking your frustration out and it has nothing to do with them kids, it has nothing to do with them, just because you yelling at them, they're going to take it a certain way. So.
Man. Y'all be praying for your boy, man. You know, that's all I ask from the people out there. Y'all pray for me because I do recognize it.
Yeah.
That I can say that much. I do recognize it. I do try my best to go back and apologize.
Absolutely.
Also. But sometimes I even get on myself. I'm like, bro, you can apologize, but like you gotta quit doing it at some point because I can see how much it affects them. And that's where I'm like, man, I don't want to continue to keep messing up like this. And then I lose her.
Right.
And last week we were talking. I forgot what I was talking to the kids about. My daughter said something. I kind of went off. And then I'm like, well, why didn't you just ask a question instead of you just doing what you think? You should just ask questions. And she was like, I did. I did ask the question, but you know what you do, Daddy? You always just yell. And I don't even want to ask questions sometimes because I know you're just going to yell. And when she said it, it was just pierced. I was pierced to my soul because I'm like, the very thing I'm always so fearful about, I'm seeing it.
Right.
I don't need her to be saying stuff like that. I don't want her to feel that way. I have to get better at this.
Right.
And so, man,
a huge portion is recognizing it. At least you know that that's something that you want to work on. Sometimes you got to slow yourself down. I tell, like, I work with parents, I work with kids. I tell my parents, sometimes you might need to go to the other room before you have that conversation with your child and calm down. Sometimes it might be vice versa. The child might need to go and have a cool off moment. It doesn't mean that whatever the problem is not going to get addressed. Sometimes we can't address things right in that moment, especially when your emotions are heightened, when you're angry or frustrated or whatever, or like you say, you just getting home from work, you're frustrated with the day. And yeah, they might have done something that'll piss you off, but you might need to let me go take a little break before I address this.
Yeah. Sheesh. Y'all, it's real now.
It's
definitely
but
real.
there's no handbook to parenting. When you have them babies, they come in there and teach the mama how to latch the baby for breastfeeding. They teach the mama how to change that baby, bathe that baby, and they send you on. And there's nothing else. You got to figure it out. And it's going to be some trial and error. And you have to also realize that you can't parent every child the same way.
Yeah, I'm learning that too. What inspired you to go into the field that you went into?
I always knew that I wanted to help people. I remember at GHS, I don't know if you remember, we had the psychology elective.
I don't remember that one.
So yeah, we had a psychology elective. It was psychology 1, psychology 2. So I didn't want to do PE. I was sick of doing PE. I wasn't doing no volleyball. I wasn't doing none of that. None of that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to just do the psychology. Like, what's the worst that could happen? And I went in there and I loved it. I loved being able to learn more about the brain, how people operate, how people think, their thinking patterns and stuff like that. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to take psychology 2. So I took psychology 2. And I remember when it was time for me to go to school, go off to college, I was telling some people, like, I want to major in psychology. I don't really know what I want to do with it yet, but I want to major in psychology. And they was like, there's no money in that. It's no money in that. So I went to school and I majored in pre-nursing. Terrible mistake.
Yeah.
Terrible mistake. I couldn't pass biology. I was not focused. I was not into it. The only class that I took that I liked was my psychology elective.
Mm.
So once I realized, I came home that December and I was like, this ain't gonna work. I don't like this. I know it's money in pre-nursing. I know it's money to be a nurse. Shout out to the nurses, because y'all, whew,
Yeah.
shout out to y'all. I could not do it. So I was like, I'm going to change my major. I went back and did psychology. And when we got to our senior year, we had this guy, this professor, I cannot remember his name to save my life, but he came in and he was a licensed counselor. And he told us how we could branch psychology off into clinical mental health counseling. They had started the master's program at Bethune-Cookman University. I got accepted, was going to go for free. But I was like, nah, I need to get up out of here. So I knew that's what I wanted to do. I always wanted to help people. I'm always like the person somebody comes to for like advice or something. And I'm like, I could do something with this. And then when I got to really see like how whitewashed the field is, and along with that, how there's so many negative stereotypes about counseling in the Black community, I was like, this is something I need to do. This is where I can go and really like make my mark, because we need counseling. I know they sit here and say, go to church and you can go to God and you can go to church too. God made counselors though. So.
No, that's real now. That is real. Because I used to, kind of think the same thing, like, I mean, why would I go to counseling when I can go to God?
Right.
I can pray and I've evolved from that thinking where I do know we need both.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
definitely need both.
Absolutely. The Bible literally says faith without works is dead. Sometimes you're going to have to put some work in on your mental health to get you to the places that you want to go.
Straight up.
So
Straight up.
It works in tandem.
Straight up. So with you working with the African American community, how do cultural factors influence parenting styles and challenge all the challenges that are faced by fathers in the community? Like, what if you saw, like working with Black families, and how do you think fatherhood influences these things? Or is it like, how important would you say fatherhood is when it comes to, dealing with the kids and their emotional well-being?
Mm-hmm. Fatherhood is just as important as motherhood. It takes literally two people to make a baby. So just as much as it takes two people, they say it take a village to raise kids. It does. It's not just a one person. Sometimes it's not a two-person thing. A lot of the things that I see with my clients, I work with a lot of kids that don't really have the best relationships with their fathers. They see their dads every other weekend. So 4 out of 31 days.
Sheesh.
That's not even 10%.
Sheesh.
Yeah, some even less than that. And it impacts them because they want to have that relationship with their fathers, but they don't understand why my dad doesn't come around or why I only see my dad X amount of times. And when I talk to the dads, it's always like, oh, well, she keep the kids from me. She can't keep no kids from you. Them your kids. Those are your children. You have rights to those children. You have rights to those children. If you want to see them kids, you want to be in them kids' lives, you gotta make way for it. You gotta do it. You have to do it. Like, research says the first 5 years of a child's life are the most pivotal for a relationship with their parents. And naturally, they have it with the mom. In some cases, not. But because the mom is usually the primary caretaker, whether she breastfeeds or not, they're attached to their moms. As dads, you have to step up and be like, okay, well, I know that this is her thing in breastfeeding. I can't feed the child, but I can do other things to forge a bond with my child.
Mm-hmm.
And when I see the kids that don't really have that, I see how it affects them, and I see that it bothers them. They may act out because of certain things, or I get a lot of black boys, that are acting out very angry because their fathers are not active in their lives. It all boils down to, I'm mad and I can't really get it out or talk about it because I can't really verbalize this.
Mm.
But then when we start working together, it's always like something with dad. And then we see on the flip side, mom now has to pick up the pieces. So now mom is overworked. Mom is overwhelmed. Mom is stressed out. So now mom is probably snapping on these kids too.
Mm.
Because again, you frustrated, you overwhelmed. You don't have the opportunity to go and take a break and take a little chill pill from these kids.
Mm.
So then now we have to deal with that side of they're struggling with dad being absent or halfway in, halfway out. Mom is snapping on them every chance she get.
Mm.
So it becomes this dynamic of like, I'm trying to help mom be able to parent better, but for her to really be able to effectively parent better, she needs more help from that child's father. And that's just the bottom line of that.
Straight up. No, that's real. That is real. Because I can attest to that and say that, as a young boy, even though I couldn't just say, oh, I miss my dad. I couldn't, that wasn't what it was. I knew that that there were things that would be missing, because when I would see my dad, it was always love.
Yeah.
Like, oh, shoot, there go my pops. And,
right.
We would laugh, we would talk, and it was just like, it was happy. And then, like, after that, it's like he go on about his life, he do his thing, and then it was like, dang, I might not see my dad again until next Christmas.
Right.
And as a kid, you don't know how much that really
absolutely
affects you, especially if you're not going to a therapist or anything, And I thank God for all the child therapists out there. I had my daughter take a class. This was about a month and a half ago. They had like a 3-day mental health class for it was really for teenagers, but I heard about it and she's only 11, and I reached out to the people. I'm like, man, I just want my daughter to be able to take it. I know she ain't a teenager, but I think she would benefit from
absolutely
this. And she did it for those 3 days, and they paid the kids. And it was good. It was like, I think she learned so many great things from that class to help her deal with like anxiety and stuff.
Absolutely.
And I think she does deal with that.
A lot of kids do these days.
Oh my God, it's ridiculous.
It's bad.
And so talk about that, like how what are some ways that parents can help their children deal with those, stuff like anxiety?
You want me to shake the table real quick?
Shake it.
A lot of kids' anxiety stems from their parents.
Ooh. Sheesh.
I'm
no, but shake.
I'm
gonna
break it down.
Shake that table.
I'm gonna break it down so we can understand. As parents, we have these ideals and wants and dreams for our children, right?
Ooh.
We want our kids to do these things. We want our kids to do these things. We want them to achieve this X, Y, and Z. And that makes absolute sense. You want the best for your children. However, a lot of times I see parents struggle with the fact that their children are still little tiny human beings with their own set of feelings, their own morals, their own soul, brain, and everything. And sometimes they want to do something that may not align with what you have, that path you have, that path you have for them. And sometimes they may deviate from that. And a lot of times parents struggle with that. Parents struggle with the fact that, okay, I had this idea for my daughter, my son, and they're doing something a little different. So I'm a we gonna butt heads about it. That was me and my dad thing.
Mm.
He wanted me to do something. I want to do something different, and we butt heads about it. And then he finally had to realize, like, okay, she's her own person. I think it's important to be there to guide them, definitely, and help them, especially keeping them from harm or things that could, mess up their future. But let them explore. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to have times where they're struggling. They're going to have times where they may not understand the math problems. Math was my thing. My mama was very understandable of the fact that she was probably going to see a C when it came for that math grade. Mm. She understood, like, you have to understand where your children, their strong points and their weaknesses.
You talking to me now.
And when you identify their strong points, lean into those, help them. My mom realized, like I said, math was not my thing. Got me a tutor. Mm. So she didn't put this unnecessary pressure on me or make me feel like, girl, you better get this grade up or this, that, and the third. She understood, like, this girl cannot count. She could not count. So we just gonna have to work the best way we can. Mm. But a lot of times it does stem from parenting. Mm. We have these ideas we want for our kids, and sometimes we got to chill on our kids. We got to understand that they are kids. Mm. Just as much as we are navigating this world one day at a time, every day is a new day for us. Mm. Imagine being 7 years old and you can't really verbalize what's going on around you or how you feel about certain things. Mm. You just know there's a bunch of stuff going on up here in your brain, but you can't really get it all the way out. Mm. So I think we just have to sometimes understand, like, sometimes we struggle with our emotions as adults.
Big time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Big time.
Absolutely. Like I said, got my dad temple. You piss me off good enough, it's going to come right on out. Yeah. So I have to be understanding of that. Sometimes that's going to be the same thing for the kids. They going to have a little outbursts, so they're going to get mad and say, can't verbalize it. That's where we come in and we help them be able to learn the words to verbalize how they feel.
Mm. Man, you said something that really hit home, because my oldest daughter, this girl is like, she's been straight A's her whole, she's sixth grade. Ever since she's been in school, it's just been perfect grades.
Right.
It's natural for her.
Yeah.
She was reading at 3 years old. Mm-hmm. Like, that was her. And so when I saw that with her, I didn't have expectations for my other children. Like, she did it.
Right.
This is what I expect from y'all. Mm-hmm. And so, and they both, even my two youngest children, my son and my youngest daughter, they still all, my son is now getting the ABs. Now,
okay, yeah, they're not E's and S's no more.
My youngest, she's still in the E's and S's, but she got straight E's, E's, S's, all that.
Yeah.
And so this year, so my son, he's third grade, that joker had a C on a progress report one time earlier this year. And I almost lost it. I kind of went off on him. And then it took me, the rest of that day to just think, like, bro, you just went off on this man about what? And it made me feel bad.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, are you holding him to the standard for him, or are you holding him to the standard of Asri?
Right. Yeah.
And I felt really bad about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, you can't do that, bro. You cannot hold him to this. Because then I went back, I looked at his report cards and stuff from second and first grade. Mm-hmm. He always had S's in like language arts and stuff.
Okay.
And I'm like, so he's never really had E's in that.
So that's his little sore spot right now.
That's his sore spot. And it's like, instead of, what you doing in school? And really, it was his homework. I went and I looked at it, and you can kind of go on nowadays. Parents can kind of go on and look at the report cards, like all throughout the year. You can kind of look.
Imagine if we had that.
Woo, boy, I would have been in some trouble.
What?
Boy. I'm talking about you can like go in.
Oh,
Like,
especially if my mama saw them absences.
oh my God.
Wow.
So yeah, it's we living in a different time now. So I kind of went on to the thing, you know, his Skyward account, and I was looking, and I'm like, I just got to understand where it's at. His classwork, straight A's,
Mm-hmm.
and then his tests were low, and so I had to talk with the teacher, and she's like, no, he's fine. Sometimes he just don't pay attention when he's taking his test, and he hasn't been turning in his reading logs. And I'm like, the reading logs, I be asking him about that all the time.
Right.
And so I had to just kind of put it on myself, like, you know, sometimes I ask him, hey, you got homework? He'll say no. And I'm like, all right, cool. I don't bother.
Yeah.
You know, because I feel like, all right, I ain't going to go behind him and check that.
Right.
You ain't got no reason to be lying to me.
But
and
you know, we was getting checked though.
Oh my God.
Now you know my mama and daddy stayed in my backpack.
So now I stay in that joker backpack.
Yeah, as you should.
And, you know, just being better on my side and helping him be better. And, you know, asking the question like, do you need help with this? You know, I'm so used to my oldest, she don't never need help.
Yeah.
It's just go do your work and she
done.
I'm done.
Right.
And it's easy. And so I hold him. I was holding him to the standard that I hold my oldest.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it goes back to you can't parent every child the same.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, that was something that when you said that, I'm like, man, that hit home so much because I'm more than sure I'm not the only parent that does that. But like, it takes for us as parents to be able to acknowledge and recognize those things, you know, as a parent. And I'm like, some stuff, it ain't the kids, it's me as a parent.
Absolutely.
I can't always blame them. That's they gonna get their share of the blame.
Right, no. When it's you.
When it's you, it's gonna be you.
It's gonna be you.
You know, but sometimes it's us as parents. You know, we can't.
We're flawed.
We're flawed. We're flawed.
We're not perfect. Again, no handbook. And
straight up.
My thing is I tell a lot of parents, like, you have to understand that the way that you parented that little baby, that toddler, is not the way that you gonna parent this preteen and teenager. It's gonna have to look a little different. The boundaries may look a little different. You may have to get a little more stern. My mom and I, especially my teen years, that was very much her moment. Very stern. Did that stop me from getting in trouble? Absolutely not. But my mama still was not playing with me, so.
I want to ask you this. Yeah. How can fathers support their children in seeking help or therapy when it's needed? And what signs should we be looking for that may indicate that our child is struggling mentally?
So definitely you want to encourage that your child has a safe space to talk to somebody. You want them to have a safe space with you as their dad and their mom, of course, but also understanding that sometimes you may need a little outside help to kind of work through some things that may be just a little too difficult for mom and daddy. That's okay. I think anybody can benefit from counseling, no matter how old you are, how young you are. Kids struggle in school, kids struggle at home, kids struggle with their friends. So, and think about it. All the times when them days we ain't want to go to school, we ain't have a real reason. That was our mental health right there. We were struggling. We was on the struggle bus, but we didn't know how to say it. So, letting them know that it's okay to talk about your emotions. It's okay to talk about the things that bother you. Even sometimes it might be talking about me as your parent. You know, it might be talking about mama and daddy. But knowing that you have a safe space. As far as signs to look for, if you see that they're kind of struggling with school, like especially if they are, like you said, a good student and all of a sudden they start struggling. Or if you see they become super withdrawn, they don't want to talk, they don't want to be around nobody, they don't want to do anything anymore. Or if you see on like the anxiety side, you just see like the panic attacks and hyperventilating, if they struggle with communicating something without getting flustered, things like that. I'm trying to think. Those are like pretty much kind of like main signs you would probably see. I work with kids with very severe trauma, so I see worse than that. I've extremely aggressive. I've seen self-injurious, homicidal, suicidal.
Sheesh.
Yeah, so I've seen the gamut of that. But that's usually with very deep levels of trauma.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That is tough. Yo, I couldn't imagine one of my kids, even having those thoughts of, harming themselves.
Right, absolutely.
Like that would be tough.
Absolutely.
Super tough. What strategies could fathers use to build trust and open communication with their children, particularly when discussing sensitive topics related to mental health?
The biggest thing is that you have to be open to hearing some very difficult things. If we think about all the hard topics and hard discussions we kept from our parents,
Sheesh.
that you're gonna hear that. And I think sometimes it's a lot worse because kids have access to way more than what we had access to. Social media, everything is at their fingertips. So you have to be prepared that someday they may come to you and ask you about something that their friend said or they saw on social media. And it might freak you out. It might creep you out. And it might scare the hell out of you. But you have to know that this is the time for you to set a very safe space for your children. One thing I commend my parents on is that I never had to go outside of them beyond counseling to seek support or help or guidance from certain things. I've always had a pretty open relationship with them, so I'm telling whatever. And the thing is that they never reacted in a way that made me feel like, oh, this is not a safe space. Even if it's something as simple as a facial expression. Sometimes you got to keep your face looking like stone so they can get it all out. You got to ask questions. You got to really ask questions to understand what your kids are talking about and what they are really thinking. And be prepared to talk about some real dark stuff. Especially today, they see so much. They have access to so much. The conversations got to start happening earlier. And when you do that, it creates a foundation of like, okay, I talked to my mom and dad about this. I talked to my dad about this. I told him X, Y, and Z. So when this big situation happens, it's second nature. Oh, I'm going to my daddy. I'm calling my daddy. I'm absolutely calling my daddy. I call my daddy for everything. And that's to say we had to work to get to that because especially with how things were when I was a teenager. But if you start laying that foundation now when they're young, talking to them about school, talking to them about what they're interested in, taking interest in what they want to do, doing that, making them feel as if what they have to say and how they feel is valued.
That's good. That's some good advice there. And like I always say, I know these are things that I can use because I need help with a lot of stuff like that. I've gotten a little better over the years. And I just think the age is now hitting me. I'm like, she's in middle school. You got to have these talks.
Yes.
There's no more hiding from it.
No.
Literally no more hiding from it.
No.
And it's funny because the other day she got in the car. I pick her up from school every day and she got in the car. I'm like, what's going on, baby? She just kind of had this unit on her face. And she was like, no, I'm mad. Because those boys, they were picking on me for no reason. And then she just started crying. I'm like, who?
Yeah, now you ready to pop off. I'm like, hey, I be at school in the morning. Point them out.
I did the Bernie Mac. I said, And she said, the boys over there, they're walking on the sidewalk. I say, them. And in my mind, I wanted to say, yeah, I'm finna get these. Boy, they finna get it. I ain't say too much more. She just went to cry. I just went to drive. And I was just gonna keep on going about my business. And I said, no, they got to hear from me today. I turned that car around real quick. And so they were walking down the sidewalk. So I went and parked down the street on this one street. So I knew they were gonna walk past my car.
Uh-huh.
I waited for them jokers to get past the car. I let that window down. I said, hey, man, my daughter saying one of y'all was saying something to her or whatever. Like, what's all that? It was like, huh? I say, man, listen, bro. My daughter don't mess with nobody. This one right here, I don't ever let her get in my car again.
Right, crying and stuff.
This your only warning.
Making that baby cry.
And they were looking all crazy. Huh? I'm gonna leave it right there. And I wanted to say so many other things, but I practiced my self-control.
Good job.
Let's not go too far.
Because now you might be dealing with a whole bigger situation.
Yeah. And I told myself, and this is something I'm always talking to myself about. Bro, practice self-control. I'm gonna practice it in this moment. Because I was so mad, man. and I was already. Yeah. I'm like, man, listen. And then I know my people are already crazy. Let's keep it right here.
Right. We don't want to make this bigger than what it need to be. I know your people, yeah.
They
don't play.
Let me just keep it right here, say what I'm going to say, and just move on. And I think my daughter needed to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was looking almost kind of like, what daddy doing? Why he just sitting here in the car? And I ain't saying nothing. I ain't telling her, I'm finna say something. I'm just like Bernie Mac. Mm-hmm.
Just sitting real cool and comfy.
Yeah, boy, them jokers came out. I wanted to say so many things. But I say, I'm going to just let it be known. Bro, just leave my daughter alone.
Yeah.
She ain't bothering nobody, man.
Exactly.
If you really want to crack, bro, we can crack. And you know how it was.
Exactly. So, we want to do it, we can do it now. Just don't bother that baby.
Yeah, because that boy braids he had in his hair, I'm like.
Oh. Not the braids.
Yeah, we ain't gonna talk about the braids.
No, let's not talk about the braids.
We just gonna keep it moving.
Yeah.
And we just gonna leave it there. And so, I ain't gonna lie, I was almost hoping something happened the next day. I'm like,
give me a reason to go back up there.
Let's give it a reason. But she came, I went and picked her up the next day. Everything's smooth.
Good.
But I want her to feel safe to just be able to come tell me, talk with me. Like if something happens at school, let me know.
Absolutely.
Don't internalize that and then take that home. And then, she was like, the boys was like talking about her head or something. I don't know. It's some
brother.
middle school stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, girl, ain't nothing wrong with you.
Exactly.
Like, man, but giving her that confidence. That,
yeah.
You beautiful. You
exactly.
They just looking for somebody to bother.
Yeah, you got to pour into them.
Yeah, and I'm like, baby, listen. Him? He ain't got no room to be talking. Oh. Listen to me.
When I talk about people's heads.
Oh, boy, that's what on your head. I don't know what that is.
All right.
We need to have a talk with your parents. They sent you to school like that. But yeah. We gonna keep it cool.
Yeah, you just have to pour into them, especially, I always used to hear, I got to be hard on my kids, especially black kids, because they're going to get it out there. Yes, they're going to get it out there. They get it at school. They get it in the community. They're going to get it. We face it for the rest of our lives, whether you are a black boy, black girl, black man, black woman. Be your kid's safe space.
Yeah.
Be a safe landing spot for them. So where they can be able to escape the harsh realities of the world that we live in. Because they're going to get it regardless. I had my first instance of racism by a teacher while I was in the second grade. So there's no way it's going to happen. Be a safe space.
And I practice that also with my son. Because I do hear a lot of people, you got to be so tough with your son. And I'm definitely tough on that joke. I be a little too hard sometimes, but I do also love on her just as much.
You
As
got
I love on my
to.
daughters. I love on that little joker because that's my little homeboy. You
And
know.
there is something very sinister that's going on with our boys and our young males. To where they are seeing this media and it's misogynistic in nature and it's harmful and it's abusive, and they're starting to mirror those things. They're starting to operate like that. They're telling their friends and they're listening to it and stuff like that. So we have to be mindful of, like, we have to be very mindful. I know we always talk about our girls, but our boys too.
Yes.
We got to be careful with our boys. We want them to be, grow up and be upstanding men, but being an upstanding man is being emotionally intelligent as well.
Yes.
And being able to practice self-control, being able to rationalize your emotions and your feelings and things like that. Being a upstanding man does not mean that you over here popping off, doing the most, cutting up, carrying on, because you don't know how to channel your emotions, because that's what it boils down to. I hate that rhetoric of like telling boys don't cry, or you man up. Men cry.
Better believe it.
Men cry. Crying is a natural human instinct. Everybody does it. And we don't need to be telling our kids, especially our boys, to stop crying. Let them cry. Let them get it out. Let them talk about what's going on.
Straight up. And something that we talk about in our program, Fatherhood program I work for, we have a session where we talk about dealing with your feelings and emotions. We always talk about how feelings aren't bad or good. Feelings are what they are. They're feelings.
Yeah.
And if we suppress those feelings, it'd be like a spring. You take that, it's like you shake up a soda.
I'm about to say, you shake up a soda can, open it, buzz.
Boy, you're gonna blow up on everything that's in close proximity to where you are. Everybody gonna get it.
I agree. I feel like you said, they're not good or bad, but they can produce good or bad results.
Yes.
And a lot of people have to be mindful, like, especially even us as adults. Your feelings are your responsibility. And you are entitled to how you feel. Can't nobody tell you how to feel. However, your feelings may not justify some of your actions. Just because you mad don't mean that you get to go and punch somebody.
You better believe.
Or cuss somebody out. Just because somebody did you wrong don't mean that you get to retaliate on them in a violent manner. We have to be able to rationalize and be emotionally mature about how we respond to things, especially as parents, because again, kids are sponges. You can sit here and tell your child, don't cuss, don't talk crazy, don't do this, don't fight. But if they see mama do it, they see daddy do it, oh, okay, but they do it, it's cool. I'ma do it too. So we have to also be mindful of, just as it's important for us to be emotionally mature as adults, whether men or women, we have to make sure we're modeling that for our kids, because they are going to pick up on that. I tell people all the time, the way that you were parented, your parents' relationships with each other, and your parents' relationship with you impacts everything in your adult life. And we have to be mindful of that. When we are operating with our kids and showing them, we got to show them appropriate ways of how we handle our emotions.
And that's so important. There's a portion in that same session where it asks the question, how do you deal with anger? And then it asks, where did you learn that from? And then it asks, how do your children deal with anger? And then where did they learn it from? And at least 90% of the dads that I deal with, including myself, when we're asked those questions, we learn it from, this is how we deal with it. Where do you learn it from? My mom or my dad.
Yeah.
How do my children deal with anger? Most likely, whatever you put on how you do it, that's how the kids do it.
Absolutely.
Where did they learn it from? Me.
Absolutely.
How we deal with our emotions is, we're teaching our kids these same things. And so I'm always on my son, about he get mad with his sisters and now he yelling. And I'm like, bro, just calm down.
Right.
But then if I look at it, I'm like, bro, I do the same thing when them jokers make me mad.
Yeah.
It's like, I have to be the example.
Exactly.
As much as I get upset with them about things, I'm like, it all points back to me.
Right.
In most cases. Now, some of that stuff, I'm like, well, I don't know where y'all learned that from. You didn't get that from me, bro. I promise y'all ain't get that from me.
Oh, some of it is not from the parents. I want to be clear. Yeah. There's a lot of outside forces.
Yeah.
School, social media, they friends, music.
Yeah.
It's not just they learn it all from mama and daddy and grandma, auntie. No, it's a lot of outside forces. But I tell people this as well. Your child is going to be influenced by other forces. Mm-hmm. They're going to have friends that are going to tell them things. They're going to have music that's going to tell them things. They're going to have social media that tells them things. You, as a parent, has to be the most important factor to where whatever that friend is telling them, they sit here like, okay, well, my mama and daddy told me this. Mm-hmm. Whatever social media or the music is saying, my mama and daddy told me this. One thing I hate to see is that parents or people in general always want to blame just the music. Mm-hmm. Now, I ain't gonna lie, the music is awful these days. Awful. Mm-hmm. But let's be clear as well. I was raised up on Trina. And Trina was saying some things.
Very crazy things.
Very, very. I love my girl. I love the baddest B. I love her, the Diamond Princess. Don't get me wrong. But she was saying a lot of crazy things that could have been very influential for somebody at that age to listen to. But I'm like, my mama, my daddy, my grandma, all these people who have sown these other things into me. And that's not to sit here and say that sometimes I didn't do some of the stuff that fall into the pressures and stuff. I did. Lessons learned. But I always go back to what I was raised. You have to make sure you giving your kids a solid foundation so that whenever they leave your house, whether they go to school, whether they going out with their friends, or whether they leaving your house for good, that they know exactly how to operate in this world and be able to sustain themselves.
That's real. I got two more for you.
All right.
What are some specific resources or programs in the Atlanta area, and also if you know some in the Gainesville area, or some online that you can recommend for parents looking to learn more about mental health and parenting?
So some resources, definitely, if you, whatever insurance your child has, especially Medicaid, let me tell you something. Medicaid, when it comes to that mental health for them kids, they don't play, especially in Atlanta. Get your kids some mental health. A lot of times you can start with your school counselor. Your school counselor is a great resource to help your children. 9 times out of 10, they're going to have some places, some therapy places that you can go that accept your child's insurance. They can refer you somewhere. Definitely always start with your school counselor. Your school counselor is going to be the premise for it all. I don't really know if Gainesville or the Florida area has this, but I know where in Atlanta, we have so many different programs where we have individual counseling for kids where you can go, actually the therapist goes into the home or they go into the school. Look for those types of resources as well. I tell people all the time, especially when it comes to counseling kids, the best counseling for kids is in the schoolhouse. So wherever if they act up in the school, do school. If they act up in the home, do the home. Because you get to really see them in their natural habitat, in their natural environment. But yeah, starting with your school counselor for sure. Talk to them, let them know. Your kids probably talk to them, so.
That's good. Y'all go look into that stuff. Go find it. And there's a lot of stuff online.
For sure.
Sometimes you can just Google.
Yeah. I know for me, easy. I'm going to make a website eventually for my counseling services, but I'm going to have a resource pages for this area, especially because I'm from here. And I want to see our community continue to grow and thrive. I genuinely can say the parents are chef's kiss. Y'all doing y'all thing. Shout out to y'all. But just always room for improvement.
Straight up. My last question. If you can go back to the 18-year-old version of Jasmine and sit down just how we're doing right now and give, knowing everything you know right now, if you could give her one piece of advice, what would you say to her?
Let it all work out, girl. Let it all work out. I feel like I tried to be in so much control in my younger teens to 20s. I was so angry. I dealt with a lot of stuff. Just let things work out. Let things be. Let things play out as they need to. Because in the end, 18 to 33, girl, you did a lot of good stuff. You did your big one, girl. So I don't think I'm not gonna lie, and it's not to be cocky. I knew I was gonna go out and do good things just because I had that support and that I had that drive within me. But I didn't think it was gonna be to this realm. So seeing myself compared to like 18 or even 25 is like crazy.
Straight up. Straight up. Man, hey, I can say you doing your thing, my girl. Keep on pushing.
Thank you. So are you.
Keep on going on up, man. You know, I always love to see my people that I knew from school just out here doing great things.
Absolutely.
So, keep doing your thing. I'll be reaching out to you again if I ever do something like this again.
For sure.
You know, I like we spoke off camera. You know, I want to do something, you know, in a different format.
Yeah.
So you know, I will be reaching out.
Absolutely.
If I do something like that in the future. But yeah, man, keep doing your thing. For all the listeners out there, man, y'all go and if you're in the Atlanta area, y'all come holler at my girl. Is there a place where you're at, where you work or anything?
I work Bill Wellness, BEAL Wellness. Also, you can find me on Psychology Today if you search Jasmine Sims, comma MS, comma LPC. You'll be able to find my name. Credentials. But you'll be able to find my name, find my Psychology Today. You'll be able to email me, book me, view my website, and go from there. So, absolutely. Right. And I'm looking to get licensed in Florida soon, so.
Okay. Let's go. Let's go. Well, yeah, man, y'all go and find my girl. Go and support. And support yourselves. Please support yourself. Support your children. Get them that help. Sometimes we can't help them the way that we really need them to be helped. So if you know that's you, some people we ain't talking to you. If you might say, "Oh, I got it all together," you got it all together. But for the people out there that don't have it all together, man, get the baby some help, and also get yourself some help. Get yourself some help. It's so important, man. It's imperative to get the help that we need so that we can be the best version of ourselves for our children, and they can continue to grow up and be the best version of themselves.
Absolutely.
So, that's it for this episode 139. Like I said, man, y'all go to dadcanwetalk.com. Go check out all the other episodes of Dad Can We Talk. This is the first one for 2025. I'm about to get it rolling again.
Yay.
So I guess that's it for this episode.